Hello, Lou.
Hey Tren, how you doing?
I'm good. Now, this week it's going to be a bit interesting because following from last week when we had Mitch on, the absolute beginner, he's left us with some questions that he would like
Excellent.
answered.
Great. So we're going to look at his
We're going to
questions.
look at his questions.
Excellent. I love
So,
this. I
but-
love beginner questions because they give us some, I don't know about you, but sometimes I can get caught in I don't know, a bit of a tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Like a blind spot thing, right?
Yeah.
And a newbie comes along and they ask you this question, you're like, well, fuck, man, I never thought of that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
Exactly.
Excellent. Let's
Yes. So we're going to pick a card. Choose a card for this episode. What do we need to know about this episode?
What do we need to know about
What
this
do we need
episode?
to bring in our awareness for this episode?
Yeah, what do we need to bring into awareness? Oh dear.
This one. Oh,
I love that.
it's the Ace of Wands, and we're using the Rider-Waite deck. So it's the Ace of Wands. It's like, well, aces are all about new beginnings, aren't they? So,
Absolutely.
and we're talking about Mitch's questions from a beginner. From a
beginner's point of view, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love that because to me, I see the Ace of Wands as a blessing. So maybe these questions will resonate with a lot of you guys listening and watching.
Yes,
and
I hope so.
Yeah, give you some more energy to work with, right? Because that's like the doing the work card.
Yeah. Well, wands are all about the doing, aren't they? The taking action.
That's it, taking action. Yeah.
And I'm really focused on the wand. It's like look at the strength of that wand. It's standing so upright, and it's like, oh, I'm trying to get my words right, but it's like we know where we're going. We've got a good direction.
Yeah, it's a masculine energy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And to me, I see it and I'm like, there's a lot of growth there.
Yes.
Looking at the what they call yods and the little leaves on there.
Leaves.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of growth.
So
I like that. So maybe there'll be something out of this episode that we can grow from.
Well, it's going to be an education for us anyway.
It is going to be an education for us. So, here we go.
Here we go. So
what's his first question?
His first question is a really interesting one, and it's really good. It's like, what if you pull a card and it's a good one, but you're getting bad vibes from it? How do you work?
You had that happen?
Yes. And it's like, oh, this doesn't feel right.
It's kind of like looking at, for argument's sake, like the 10 of cups, right? Which is where you have the family typically and the rainbow above it, and it's all love and light.
Everything's coming up roses.
And it's like that, the promise that after the rain, there's going to be a rainbow, and it's like that silver lining talk, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do if you see that and yet you feel feelings
it doesn't match what the card is saying?
Yeah. What do you do?
Normally I put it back in the deck.
Cheater, reader. Oh, God damn, what do we do? So what do we do? What can it mean? Like I look at that sometimes, like when that's happened for me, and I've got like this whole process, right, where I'm like, okay, is this mine?
Yeah.
Is this mine? Am I projecting onto this, or what's actually happening? So I want to make sure that it's not a feeling that I'm carrying that I've then projected onto the card and gone, yeah, this doesn't match, right? Yeah. So that's the first thing I'll check in for. And then when in the circumstances or the situations where it's not mine and it's a genuine feeling, energetic feeling I'm having, I will ask myself if the person's actually wearing a mask, right? Because maybe that's what they want us to see, but underneath that's not what's really happening. So that's sometimes what that can be. I'm just trying to think, like that's how it's been for me. They're the two ways that I work with it, and I'm just trying to think because that's such a great question.
And exactly what you just said. If we're pulling a card for ourselves and we get the 10 of cups and we don't feel it, are we putting our own mask on?
Absolutely right.
Are we not seeing things for what they really are?
Yeah. So they're the kinds of questions then that would lead off that. That is such a cool question.
I really like that one.
I like it too. I very much like it.
Because I know years ago I did have one. I had a lady in front of me and she pulled the 9 of Pentacles. And that's the wish card. And I went, oh, isn't this fantastic? She no, that's not right. That's not right.
Right, yeah. And I mean, what do you do when your client's saying no like that,
Yeah.
So yeah, there's all those questions
Yeah,
around that
I
as
did,
well.
I just put it aside, still on the table, so I did refer back to it, but I just asked her to pull another one. So it was
Okay,
still there.
yeah.
But, and when we got into the reading, that 9 of Pentacles did come into it because it did make sense to her, but not first up.
Not first up, yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes you'll get that, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, and that's okay. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I love that question. What if you pull
Yeah.
a card and it's a good one, but you're getting bad
Get
vibes?
bad vibe. Just sit with
Yeah.
it. Sit with it for the moment, and don't be like me. Shove it back. Put it in front of you. If you need to, pull a clarifying card.
That's another great
Yeah.
way to work with
But yeah,
that.
don't go, oh, that makes no sense, and shove it back in, because it will come out.
Absolutely,
It
it will
will
come
come
out.
out.
It will come out. So,
Yeah.
what have we learned about that so far? We've learned to check in to make sure that it is a feeling that belongs with the card and
With the
not
card,
yourself.
yeah.
We've learned to ask the question, am I wearing a mask? Is the person wearing a mask? Who's masking up here?
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it,
Yeah.
I guess. And then also you pull a clarifying
Well,
card,
exactly.
right? To
Yeah.
see maybe if you can find more information around what that's
yeah.
about. And also, it's just dropped in my head
Yeah.
now, it could be like a fear thing, like
Yes.
the outcome potentially, particularly if we're forecasting, right? The outcome could be a good outcome, but we might be sensing their fear,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
also, and that will work in reverse as well. Like, let's say someone's been manifesting like a really good outcome, but their feeling isn't matching what they're trying to manifest, and you might be picking up on that as well.
Exactly.
So, and that can be situational, or that can be across the whole reading.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
So yeah, so many things to come
Yeah.
out of that question.
That's a great question, Mitch.
It's a brilliant question,
Yeah.
Mitch.
His next question is there a card that represents anxiety and depression or depression?
Yeah, what do you reckon?
I reckon there is,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, what do you reckon it is?
I think the 4 of Swords, definitely.
Okay, let me find that. Because here's something we prepared a little
Yes,
earlier.
yes.
Yeah.
I do think the 4 of Swords, because it's like you just had enough and you just need to take time out. And it's like, just let me rest.
Yeah.
And it's like your time when you decide to get up.
It is the 4 you said first, so we'll go with
Swords.
that first. So we're looking at the Crow Tarot here, and the reason we're doing the Crow Tarot is because Mitchell had a few questions around crows, and I thought, great, let's just use the Crow Tarot, as well as a Dragon Tarot, just to give us a different perspective today, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to start with the Crow, and like depression, anxiety, that kind of thing. Like I kind of see that as a different card, however, and that's great because we're allowed to have different things. But this here, like, is the health card, right? So it on its own can very much be the lead into.
Yes, into that anxiety, that depression.
Absolutely. And there we see the dragon. Can you get, sorry, my hand's a bit sore,
So see both of those.
Yeah, so you can see both. So what I was pointing out to Tren before is on the Crow deck, you'll see there's this path, right? Which is really interesting. So it's not on the Rider-Waite deck.
No, it's not.
And it's not in the Dragon deck.
No.
So we're finding different cues and clues in the Crow deck.
Exactly.
So to me, the 4 of Swords in that, whilst you might be feeling the anxiety or depression or a bit of mental health stuff, right, or just unwell in general, it's there's a path out.
Exactly.
Right.
There is.
And when you look at the dragon, you can say that the cave that he's kind of curled up in can be the same thing, because you've got to enter it in or enter it out, right?
You've got a way out.
You do. It just doesn't show.
It's not as obvious.
It's not as obvious, right? So interesting.
Yeah.
So
what's the card that you would say would represent depression and anxiety?
Okay. So this might be a little over the top because it also represents the wider mental health thing, but this is the card for me that gives it away, and that is the Devil. So I see the Devil as a mental health card. So that would definitely be speaking to, in my mind, depression, and more so because you're held back.
Yeah.
And I still see it as anxiety, but more depression and more the heavier.
Yeah, very
The-
heavy. I
the-
mean,
the
even the
heavier-
colouring on both of those cards, the Crow Tarot and the Dragon Tarot, the colouring is very dark, isn't it?
It is, and the colouring, that's a good point, is kind of similar. You'll see the reds and that here that is also on the dragon. But on this one, on the crow, you'll see he's got a mask on.
Mm.
So to me, it's like he's hiding something,
Mm.
you know? So
Yep.
I kind of see it as that. But the other card that I truly say, well, that I do, but I
Yep.
see it as a bigger picture. But this next one, I see it as like the depression, like hitting the bottom.
Rock bottom.
Rock bottom being the key. But
Yeah.
what I will preface this with is to say that when we hit rock bottom, a couple of things usually happen. One is we get to reinvent ourselves and come back out, right? And we get to be who we want to be. And the second thing is the sun will always rise, no matter what the fuck is going on in your life. The sun is always going to rise, right? So therefore, that's the symbology of the new day.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to state that before I show the card, which I see as the 10 of Swords. So I'll show both of them there. So in the crow, as you look at that, you will see, for those of you who are watching and for those of you who are listening, I'll do my best to describe it. The crow has the swords piercing through his wing.
Not his back, his wing.
Not his spine or his back, right? Because in the Rider-Waite, it runs right through that person's spine.
Yeah.
But on the crow, it seems to be through the wing. Now, that to me is symbolic of, if it's in the wing and you can't fly, therefore you are grounded and you are not able to raise your spirits as such to get
lift
out of the
yourself
depression,
out.
lift yourself out. That's the words I'm looking for, lift yourself out. So that's why I see that.
As a depression.
As a depression, and the crow does it really well.
It does.
I feel.
It very well.
Yeah, it does it very well. And then when we see the dragon, right, it's really in his spine again.
It is.
It's like he's just bones.
Like
or rocks or something. I don't know.
Completely given up.
He has completely given up, completely deflated.
But then again, looking at that dragon too, I just noticed that it's almost because there's a dragon above the swords, it's almost like he's left behind an old self.
Absolutely. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that interpretation. And the other thing I was going to say about the dragon, this is what I love about working with Tren, because we can have two ways to think. I love that. That is exactly what that is, 100% hands down. And the other part of it is, see how he's got fire coming out of here, which is like your phoenix rising, right? So yes, exactly what Tren said. But also that's in my mind, on the Rider-Waite deck, you'll see there's a sunrise at the back. That's the sunrise in that particular deck, where he's saying, you know, like I'm warm, I'm full of light, I'm full of energy, hear me roar kind of thing. And he's risen, which is what you said earlier. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So you can see anxiety and depression in the cards, depending on how you see those cards. Some people see the where's he in bed? The nine of swords.
The nine of swords.
Guy's in bed.
Yes.
That can be the beginning of. Because it's where we're thinking too much.
Exactly. We're in our head, aren't we?
In our head. And we're thinking too much. And I'll just show that one here, which is like that. I'll let you hold them, Tren.
So this is again the dragon deck and the crow deck. They're very different, aren't they?
They're very different. Like on the dragon, you can see he's literally tormented by the images up above him, right? That are, you know, like he's really tormented, isn't he? Whereas with the crow, you kind of see it's a dark looking card. You can see the birds kind of, two birds above him kind of, I'm like, are they fighting?
Are they fighting?
I think they are. They're kind of coming at each other, fighting a bit. So it tells you that there's like these two sides of yourself potentially which are fighting. So very different messages, and yet
very different,
and yet not. You know. Yeah. Wow.
So on the flip side, Mitchell's asked, "Is there a card that represents hope?"
Oh my God! And I didn't even get that out. That would be, what do I do with me crows? Oh, here they are.
Lost the crows.
Lost the crows, lost the crows. So normally the hope is which one, Tren?
I would say the sun. Very definitely the sun.
See that. Yeah.
It could also be, like we talked about, the 10 of cups again. because you've got, things are coming up, and the storm has passed, the rainbow is out. That was, I would say. I'm just trying to think what else represents hope. There's
I see the star.
the star.
I see
Oh,
the star. The star is hope. So let me just see if I can find the star in here. I'm surprised I didn't get the what was I thinking?
Well, there's the 10 of cups in the crow deck. You can see the colouring. To me, that's just there's so much life in that card.
The sunflowers on there, representing that sunshine, that which is hope, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes, it's there's so much life in this. If you look, there's 2 birds in the nest that represent the children, I suppose, and the couple down here.
Yeah, absolutely. That is what that is, 100%.
Yeah. And this is the star out of the crow deck. So you can see that.
He kind of feels a bit victorious for me.
It's like, his chest is out. Like I've achieved, I've got through the worst, I can now see the light.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the sun in here, and I'm going to look for the sun and the.
Yeah, with the star in the crow deck, his wings are out. It's very much like I said, his chest is out, his wings are out, he's ready to take flight. It's very much, looking at this, it feels like he's really overcome quite a lot of difficulty. Like, look at me now, look where I've come from, look at me now, and then watch me go, see what I can achieve from here. So it's almost like you said, yes, it does represent hope, but it's also, there's nothing holding me back now. There's really nothing holding me back.
I love the nothing holding me back piece. And like when we look at that was the star, right?
Star.
And there's the star in the dragon.
Look at that. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. Yeah. So the star typically does mean hope.
Hope.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then there's the sun.
The sun. There's a sun in the dragon. Look at that. The colours are just beautiful. And that, again, just, I don't know, lifts you up, or lifts me up.
I love the sun card. And to me, that is like hope, as you say, right?
Yeah.
So I see that as well. So interesting, the different cards, but also the different takes
interpretations,
that like Tren and I have just between ourselves. So what else have we got?
Now he's got, this is going back a while. Listening to episode 23, we must have been talking about the crow tarot there. It's got the card with the ravens or crows. Could that mean death or flying? Meaning, are you going to travel? And where he's coming from is he's always been told that ravens are always associated with death.
Okay.
That's where he's coming from. That's where he's sort of working out, well, hang on, how can ravens be good when he's not so much been brought up, but has been told that ravens and crows represent death. So I'm going to go through and give you a little bit of information that I found about crows. And it's from the website learnreligions.com.
What?
It's like, what is this?
Okay, cool. Learn religions, talking about crows.
So they've got a little saying here. So if you see a single crow, it's considered to be an omen of bad luck. But finding 2 crows, however, means good luck. So it's not the death side of it. 3 crows mean health. 4 crows mean wealth. Yet spotting 5 crows means sickness is coming. And then 6 crows means death is nearby. So
interesting.
So, and the same website, they're saying crows sometimes appear as a method of divination and prophecy. So that would refer back to that.
Yeah. And I'm just going to go back to something. So Mitchell was talking about episode 23, and we had mentioned crows, and he had said something about, does that mean you're going to travel, or does that mean,
fly,
okay. So here's the other thing, and why you need to go with what you first get, right? Because Mitch didn't know this at the time, but the crows would represent the element of air, right? The element of air speaks to flying, it speaks to travel, it speaks to the internet, it speaks to, Aquarius, all of that, anything to do with air or mental energy. Now, he didn't know that, but he knew on some level that, can it mean that you're traveling?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Of course it can.
Absolutely. And yet, so pay attention to what you first get, guys.
So don't dismiss it, even though
definitely don't dismiss it.
No, just say it, get it out there, write it down if you're doing it for yourself.
Because there'll be something in that, right?
Yeah.
So for Mitch, that was about the fact that they can represent travel and the element of air.
Yes.
That's what was in that for him. Yeah.
So then I'm going, in some mythologies, crows are seen as bad luck, and other mythologies are seen as messengers from gods.
Wow.
So it's like, you pick what you believe, I suppose.
Well, you do, right? And your belief is the energy
Yeah.
behind everything that
Yeah.
that's happening. I often get a lot of crows out the front here.
Yeah.
What do I call a lot of crows? It's murder.
Murder of crows.
Murder of crows. Fucking murder of crows out the front here, right? And I'm like, get away.
The noisy buggers.
Noisy buggers. And a friend of mine was saying to me, she's like, you got all these messengers out the front. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And she's like, you got all these crows out here. I'm like, oh, they annoy me. She goes, they got a message for you, and unless you sit still and get that message, they aren't coming back.
Exactly.
I'm like, right. So I thought I'd test that too, right?
Yes.
Sure enough. Once I got the message, no
crows.
right?
Oh, isn't that fascinating?
What
That's
the fuck?
fascinating.
Yeah. They've moved on. Yeah.
So, getting back, the crows often appear as trickster characters in folklore and legend. They're always made out to be, the silly ones. In Welsh folklore, the ravens are the harbingers of death. But then in the Native American folklore, ravens are the tricksters and sometimes seen as a symbol of transformation.
Really? Transformation.
And that goes, if we look at what Mitch has asked about, can they represent death? Well, yes, it's a death of something.
Yeah,
it's a transformation. So yes,
well,
we can work it like that.
And again, he wouldn't have known that,
He
right?
wouldn't have known that, no.
So
yeah,
interesting.
And it comes back to the ancient Greeks used crows as a method of divination.
Oh, like my friend said to me.
Like you said, yeah, exactly. Exactly. We know these things, but we don't know these things.
Yeah. What you know, what you don't think you know, but you really do know.
You really do know. Yeah. So the Greeks used to say it's a symbol of Apollo and his role of the god of divination. So it's like the crows and the ravens really are associated with some gods in some mythologies. So they're important.
Yeah, very, it would seem.
Yeah, and in parts of that Appalachian Mountains. Now I had to look up where the Appalachian Mountains were.
Where is it?
It's actually crosses over 3 countries, America, Canada, and then the French area of Canada.
Really?
I think it's about 3,000 or 4,000 kilometers long, this range of the Appalachian Mountains.
Pretty important site.
Wow. Yes. And in parts of the Appalachian Mountains, a low-flying group of crows means illness is coming. This is the funny part. But if a crow flies over a house and calls 3 times, that means an impending death in the family. So
oh my God, you'd want to make sure.
Keep going.
You want to make sure when you heard 3, you listen to the 4th one. Can it be in the distance? Oh God.
But if a crow calls in the morning before the other birds, it means it's going to rain.
Oh, I'm going to test that.
Test that one out.
Test that, yeah.
And after all of that, despite their roles as messengers of doom and gloom, it's bad luck to kill a crow.
Jesus.
don't be slingshotting anything.
Oh my God. I have an image of the slingshot. Yeah.
So no, crows aren't a sign of bad luck. Their bad reputation comes from centuries of folklore.
Wow.
Where storytellers painted crows as a sign of death and grief due to their black colouring.
Kind of like the black cat
black
thing,
and their haunting call, because they have a really haunting call, don't they? Even so, there's no definitive, evidence that crows are bad luck. It's like,
Yeah, we're not bagging the crows.
No, we're not.
We're not bagging the crows.
And then if you want to tell the difference between a crow and a raven, they're the same family, they're not the same bird. Okay, they're different. I think the ravens are bigger and shaggier looking.
Shaggy. It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
Shaggier looking.
Now, this is the funny part that I love this word. Ravens in stories often act as psychopomps.
Psychopomps.
I had to put that in capital letters because it's a funny word.
What the fuck is a psychopomp?
That means that they're connecting the material world with the world of spirits. So we can say we're all psychopomps.
Psychopomps. Oh, you learn something new every day. What is it, that chick I've seen on TikTok, and she goes, the word of the day is... The word of the day is psychopomps.
So to many, ravens symbolize death or bad fortune to come, but to others, they symbolize rebirth, starting fresh, starting something new. And it's a positive sign. So I really do think it's how you want to see the crows.
Yeah, I think it's like anything really, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's just, yeah, whatever
think
whatever
it's like
comes to
anything,
mind,
yeah.
whatever you believe, whatever you've been told. Yeah, but then we say all that, but just feel. What do you feel at the time?
Oh, I love that trend. Yeah, can't come back to what do you feel, right?
Yeah,
What do you feel?
What do
Yeah.
you feel? Because crows and ravens are widely viewed as beacons of intelligence. Like they're
Mm.
so clever because you've used, I think it's crows. I've seen videos of crows in Australia when they get something and put it on the road and wait for a car to run over it because that's too hard for them to.
Oh, yeah. They're intelligent, eh?
Oh, they're
Like
intelligent.
completely intelligent.
Yeah.
You know, that speaking of birds and stuff, the other bird that fascinates me is a magpie.
Oh, yes.
Because of their tongue
Yeah.
and how
how
they sing. Amazing. So
Yeah.
just a bit sidetracked
But
there.
yeah,
So, speaking of bright and shiny
yeah,
things,
another
yeah.
sidetrack. When I first moved into this house, I put all my crystals out for the sunlight and the rain and everything. And this kookaburra came along because I had, I think it was a desert rose, so it was shaped like an egg.
Right.
A little desert rose. This kookaburra came along and thought it was an egg and took off with it.
Oh my God.
Banging on the fence to try and crack it. And I went,
Oh,
not going to happen, mate.
And with what crystal was it again?
It was a desert rose crystal. So it's a
I
you
know the
they have
one.
little rosy things, and it's just
Yeah.
oh, it's a lovely crystal, but it's very hard. As the
Wow.
kookaburra found
Well, he would have found out the hard way.
Not gonna crack.
Well, there you go.
So I hope, Mitch, that's answered some questions for you.
Yeah, we do hope it's
Yeah.
answered some questions, and
Yeah.
we hope that it's encouraging other listeners and watchers to send your questions in, because
Yeah.
we love working with them.
Yes.
And we tend to, as you can tell, fly by the seat of our
Yes.
pants. So, which I think is the best way,
It
because you
is.
get stuff drop in, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I tend to like.
And like you
things
said, you
that.
don't know what you know until you know it.
That's right. You don't know what you don't think you know till you know it. So something like we need to get t-shirts that's that. You don't know what you think you know till you know that you know it. Yeah, something like that. Oh my Lord.
So thank you, Mitch. That is wonderful. And if you've got more questions, just send them. We'd love them.
Absolutely.
I love doing the listener questions.
I love doing the listener questions too, because it just gets you out of your own head for a minute, you know. Like that first question was a pearler.
That was good. That was a good one.
That was a pearler.
That was a real good one.
Yeah, and we'd love to know what you think about that type of, that question. I'd really love to know what you think about that question. Yeah, what do you do?
If you get a card that quite looks wonderful, but you feel not so great about it.
Yeah.
You know, what do you do then?
How does it work for you? I'd love to know.
Yeah,
love to know. You let us know. All right. Thank you for watching, listening, sharing, liking, subscribing, all of the things.
All the things.
It's very, very precious to us.
We're so grateful. We just appreciate all of you. So thank you.
We do. So have an amazing day and big love.
See you later.